Hello, everyone. This is Giulio Coraggio, location head at the Italian Department of Intellectual Property and Technology at the law firm DLA Piper. This is the podcast Diritto al Digitale. And today I'm honored to have here Brando Benifei, is the member of the European Parliament that acted as a rapporteur of the EU AI Act and was one of the front runners for the approval of this AI, the first AI legislation across Europe. So thank you very much, Mr. Benifei, for your availability and the time you're dedicating to us.
Thank you very much for your interest in our work and in the idea of inviting me to speak about this important topic together. And I want also to thank everyone who is listening to us.
So during the last month, you had a marathon of over 36 hours to reach a preliminary agreement on the EU AI Act. Can you just give us a bit of background on the rationale behind the first legislation on artificial intelligence across Europe?
The AI Act has been born out of a long reflection and discussion in the European institutions with stakeholders, business leaders, small and bigger businesses, developers, academia, etc. This is something which started a process that started when the European Parliament has begun its mandate for this term in 2019. We have seen a high-level working group in with the Commission, and also an effort from the Parliament to start discussing, for example, the impact on culture of AI, the impact on social control of AI, and we started a political discussion. This has brought also to a special committee on artificial intelligence that worked for more than 1 year with a lot of hearings, a lot of discussions with experts, that also released a political report called the AIDA report, the Artificial Intelligence in Digital Age report, that was the basis for the start of the legislative work that started in the second part of this legislature with the proposal coming from the European Commission of the first ever AI hard law, what has been already being developed as a risk management system by the private sector, by the public institutions, by the real world already for a long time. So it's been not inventing something new, but rather it started with just transforming into a hard legislation, not anymore a recommendation or a code of conduct or a code of practice, existing practices of risk mitigation. This is very important to understand. The AI Act in its core part, in its core working, so the pyramid of risk, the different levels of risk that bring a different level of regulation, is not inventing anything. They are already there. The difference is that it becomes mandatory. It becomes a law. It's not anymore a voluntary commitment. It's not anymore a good practice of the business. It's a law that needs to be respected in front of consumers and citizens. Then the development of the debate has brought us also to deal with the rules of the generative AI, of the most powerful models, of also challenges that we can say were not there at the beginning. But the core issue is always the same: reducing risks by providing standards to have a good practice of putting into market and then into use AI systems, and enlarging in this way the opportunities for everyone. So in the end, the mindset behind the AI Act is the consumer protection and the defense of fundamental rights, making innovation compatible with our fundamental values, so that we can avoid to deal only ex post issues of damaging, issues of contentious situations, but rather ex ante deliver solutions that can prevent problems and build more trust. This is also the ultimate objective: build trust around the development and the deployment of AI in our society.
No, absolutely. I do agree that the certainty, a level of certainty on the obligations around artificial intelligence can encourage the flourishing of the market. Now, in December, we said that you spent 36 hours of negotiations. We know that there are some kind of gray areas, some technical aspects that still need to be agreed in detail. Now, who is going to be involved in these discussions? Are we just talking about the technical experts within the European Council, the Commission, and the Parliament, or you're going to involve also some stakeholders from the market in order to better understand how to fine-tune these aspects still to be decided within the AI Act?
In these weeks, we got a lot of ideas from stakeholders on fine-tuning of the AI Act. But often what we got were also suggestions on issues that are already completely closed. In fact, the agreement we made is very much comprehensive. There has been a lot of speculation about the lack of a lot of aspects in the agreement, but this is really not real. It's just we can say journalistic speculation. The AI Act is closed, and we are only working on technical issues that are dealing with the recitals of the legislation. And obviously, the Parliament is involved at the level of the parliamentarians and of the technical experts, together with all the other partners, the Council, first of all, and the Commission as the honest broker. But I can tell you that although it's always valuable to get inputs also in this phase, the text is closed. We got for a couple years inputs, and we worked on them. And now we can say that really only marginal issues are being discussed, and they are linked to having complete legal clarity and a lack of contradiction in a very, very long text. So to be frank, substantial issues are already being, all of them are already being decided.
Yeah, that's good to know. So you said all the points are closed. Can you give us an estimate on when the Parliament will actually vote the AI Act and it will be published on the official Gazette?
Yes, we are going to vote we need to vote in the committees and then in the European Parliament plenary, and also the Council needs to do its final decision. So the Parliament will vote realistically, due to a calendar organization, at the beginning of February in committee, and then in plenary it could be March or early April. And the Council will also have its own vote in February.
So from your perspective, there is no chance at all that the agreement will fall apart, because you already reached the agreement across the trilogue in all the aspects that are relevant.
We need to clarify how this decision-making process works. The agreement we reached is not with the whole of the Council. And on the other hand, the agreement reached is not with the whole of the Parliament. The agreement is between rapporteurs and the Council presidency, the Spanish presidency in this case. So on one end, we need to ensure from Parliament that what we agreed on is now supported by a majority of political groups. and the Spanish presidency, with now the support of the Belgian presidency, that is the new presidency that has entered. So they will need still to work together. The Spanish government that was holding the presidency and the new presidency, that is the Belgian one, they need to ensure us that a majority of council, that is also a majority that is composed by a numerical majority, but also balanced majority in council, which is linked to the population, needs to support this agreement. So we are both doing our part so that the agreement will be respected. But I am 100% sure that the parliament is going to support with a majority, and the council will be supporting with the majority. We are quite sure about this. We can say that with quite a certainty.
Yeah. What is, in your view, the reaction of the global economy on the approval of the AI Act? There are some companies, I would say more on the other side of the Atlantic, that argue that the AI Act in some ways is over-regulating and might trigger to a competitive disadvantage for the European Union. On the other hand, we saw the GDPR that was very strict and it didn't trigger a competitive disadvantage for the European Union. So what are your expectations on the impact of the AI Act on the global economy?
Well, we cannot measure at the moment the so-called Brussels effect. We will see how much it will entail in this case. What we can say is that it's a bit curious that companies that are based elsewhere and are building their fortunes elsewhere, they are worried about Europe. To be honest, I think they are worried about the fact that they will need to follow rules, and maybe these rules might be spilling over also in other places. So, because we need to clarify, these rules are not for European companies and are not for European users of AI. They are for those that develop and put on the market, and those, no, sorry, not develop, for those that put on the market and commercialize, and on the other end, those that use AI, so developers and users, in the European territory. So you can be European, you can be Chinese, you can be American. The point is not who you are. So these laws have no impact on European companies that is different from the other companies of the world. The only difference, which is relevant, and I want to get to that because that's the thing I'm worried about, is the fact that we are putting significant rules based on also other legislation on data. And the data that is used to train AI systems is very important. And so working for more data accessibility in Europe and more sharing of computational power like they are doing at the level of US or China, while in Europe we are still fragmented on the use of supercomputers and computational power. Von der Leyen spoke about this in her State of the Union speech in September. Yes, these are issues of which I'm worried about, because I still see too fragmentation, too confusion on the use of data in Europe. Let's put aside the GDPR. We are talking about also data spaces, open data spaces, the use of non-personal data. It's still not working in the best way, in my opinion. And this is the problem I see for our competitivity. But the rules we are talking about are not for Europeans. These are rules for everyone that wants to put its product in the European market. And we are sure that no one wants to renounce to the European market. So the rules will be followed.
Yeah, no. I do agree that it will actually become a competitive advantage and probably will become a global benchmark. Among those provisions of the AI Act that have been more discussed are those relating to the disclosure of content on which the generative AI technology has been trained. And we had, during the last weeks, one of the most significant disputes in this area between maybe the largest newspaper in the world and one of the largest big techs and definitely the currently largest generative AI developer. So what do you think that this disclosure obligation will generate in the European market? We will see some disputes. Also, do you think that the disclosure obligation will require to list every single content on which the AI has been trained, or just the category of contents? So
the disclosure obligations will be based on the template that the European AI office will prepare. So that will be important to see how we develop that. So the sufficiently detailed summary that we have in the law will be specified more precisely how much it should be extended, its extent, and also how to be how it should be prepared. It will for sure not entail to list every single content. The objective is to have a transparency that is sufficiently impactful to give the rights holders a way to defend their rights in front of abuses. This is something which we try to also put in place to strengthen the negotiation possibility and the position of power of the content creators in front of the big developers, exactly to avoid just an infinite series of judiciary cases, because we want to clarify that transparency is the first point, and from the transparency, then these developers will avoid judicial cases where they will be succumbent if it's clear that they have been using copyrighted material without any authorization. And to avoid them, they will need to find agreements and to find solutions with the rights holders. This is our political objective, to avoid this disproportionate situation in terms of power balance, and to deliver a protection to those that actually provide the content that is needed to make these systems learn what they do.
Yeah. Last question, Mr. Benifei. If you were a company that were developing an AI solution or planning to use AI solutions, what would you do now in terms of establishing an AI governance program, performing some tests on AI, implementing policies? So
what I suggest is very clear. You need to adhere to the AI Pact, which will be launched after the approval of the AI Act. The P in front of Act is a different concept. Is the idea of a voluntary anticipated compliance, which means that we will accompany with a platform that the European Commission will create the companies to the compliance to the AI Act before it becomes completely mandatory. So after 6 months from the approval, the prohibitions will kick in. Then 12 months, we will start with the obligations on generative AI and general purpose AI. And after 2 years, the prohibitions on provisions on high-risk applications and the conformity assessment will be mandatory. So there will be 2 years to be completely compliant, and we want to accompany this compliance with voluntary anticipated compliance. And this is what I suggested. Follow this work, be part of the AI Pact with the business sector, with the institutions, so you will be ready before it becomes an obligation.
Yeah. Now, Thank you very much, Mr. Benifei. Honestly, you've been really outspoken, and I can perceive the passion that you put in your work. So we're really thankful for what you've done so